You're listening to The Rob Dibble Show.
Back on The Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Nkwa Asonye joins us now from Channel 3. And he was following the last group at the Travelers and was at the Travelers like us all week. And Nkwa, what did you think of Keegan Bradley and Ches Reavie?
Well, first off, Ben, thanks for having me. Secondly, I won't lie, I didn't think Bradley was going to be able to keep it up. And it wasn't about, like, past history or anything. I don't know, like, it feels like with the Travelers every year, at least the past few years I've been covering it, you always get a feel-good story out of it. And I guess Keegan Bradley was one, but I thought one of the bigger names might have been able to sort of make that push to sort of challenge him. But when Bradley got going, man, I was really thinking he was going to take Justin Thomas's record. But, you know, he said it himself, right? Like, the back nine, you've either got a bogey hole or a birdie hole because there's water everywhere. So I'm happy for him, though, and I'm glad he managed to pull it out.
This was a question that was floated to Dibbs and I yesterday, and I think Rory McIlroy kind of started the conversation at his post-match presser. Is the Travelers Championship TPC River Highlands too easy of a golf course for these PGA players?
Well, first of all, Rory should worry about what he does on the back nine before he starts poking fun at him. I just didn't like that. You know, it felt very much like, oh, well, I didn't win, and, you know, Keegan played well, but, you know, I could have won, but, you know, the course was cheating. That's how it came off to me. And you've been here long enough to know how it plays. Oh, it plays super soft when it rains. Yeah, so adjust, or, I don't know, be happy that you finished in the top 10. I do think, because I was doing some informal math the other day, you know, since Travelers became the title sponsor, I want to say the average margin of victory, or at least the average number of strokes under par for the winner, is like 15. So I think there could be a conversation about what adjustments need to be made to the course. I don't really think it's all that serious.
But would you agree that the final, like, 4 holes usually come into play on Sunday to decide the winner?
Pretty much how it always is.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the first year that I was covering them, it was the Kramer-Hickok Harris English, show. Had 7-hole playoff back and forth, and they, you know, if you don't win those final 4 holes, then it is what it is. And I won't call myself the most avid golf watcher. I tune into the Masters and, you know, some FedEx Cup matches from time to time, but it's a standard for any sport. The last few minutes, last few innings, or in this case, the last few holes, will decide a lot. So either figure it out or don't be so upset when you don't get what you want.
What were your thoughts on just the tournament overall? It felt like there was 500,000 people there through the week. I know Sunday, I saw you on Sunday. I was having a tough time with the heat. I'm sure you were as well, walking around with the camera and everything. But the fans didn't feel like it fazed them whatsoever. Felt like it was a packed house. But all in all, how do you think the tournament went here for Cromwell?
Honestly, it was one of the more impressive events that I've been to. And it's bigger than just the fact that they attracted the golfers that they had. It's not just that we were able to get, you know, some local talent that managed to make some noise like Stegmeyer and Sabota. But it was about the fact that the weather was the only downside of the entire weekend, and the people just kept on coming. You know, it's really, really humbling, I would say, as hectic as the event can be, to see that people really care so much that the Travelers is the Travelers every single year.
Talking to Nkwa Asonye from WFSB TV Channel 3, host of the independent sports and cultural podcast In My Bag, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We bring up everybody's byline, my friend. Let me ask you about the Yukon Huskies that got drafted and one that signed a 2-way deal with the Chicago Bulls. Were you satisfied that a national champion was well represented?
Honestly, I was. I mean, I think when we talked about this, I want to say in April, it pretty much broke down the way that we projected. Hawkins going late lottery, early second for Jackson. I am a little disappointed that Sanogo wasn't drafted, but I also understand, right? Because unfortunately, if he was 6'10 or 6'11, I don't think is even a conversation. But to even have the opportunity to be on an NBA roster and to develop his game, I think if you're Dan Hurley's already feeling good after that contract he signed. I'm sure he was absolutely buzzing by the time the draft was over.
We were talking to Dan Dockich, Dibbs and I, about, 2 or 3 months ago, right after the national championship, and talking about their potential, all three of these guys in the NBA. And he kept coming up with, it depends on the fit. It depends on the fit of the team and the needs and how well they're going to adjust with the rest of the roster. What do you think of the fit? Hawkins goes to the Pelicans, Jackson goes to Milwaukee, and we'll see what happens with this two-way deal for the Chicago Bulls for Adama. What do you think of the fit of where these guys went?
Well, the Bulls just need talent, period. So the fact that they got Sanogo arguably at a discount, it gives them a chance to develop. Yes, they've still got DeRozan. Lonzo Ball still hurt. I like that fit for him. The Jackson fit in Milwaukee, I guess I get it because of the athleticism he just brings to that team. Like, if he takes the floor with Giannis, that might be the most athletic 1-2 combo in the NBA. But are they going to turn him into a big point guard? What are they going to do with his three-point shot? That's a little bit more of a question mark for me. But athletic-wise and tangible-wise, Milwaukee is going to enjoy what they'll get. Jordan Hawkins in New Orleans is going to be a fun time. And the interesting thing about him is that we saw it with C.J. McCollum when he was in Portland with Dame Lillard, right? When you've got two small guards, it's kind of hard to compete. If Jordan Hawkins can get early minutes at that 2 spot, when he's at 6'5", he'll have a chance to put a little bit more weight on. I like what he can do in that roster with that team. And that's all without even knowing whether Zion Williamson is going to come back. Right. So I do like his fit there.
Just from doing the sports for Channel 3, your thoughts on the Mets, Yankees, and Red Sox. And I just heard a quote from Justin Verlander. Nobody saw this coming. What are your thoughts on where they sit right now halfway through the MLB season?
Well, the Red Sox should be sitting very, very pink. I don't think that their roster is all that talented, but they've got a good manager. And when the talent needs to step up, that they do. The Yankees, unfortunately, that's my rooting interest, and they just make me hold my head more than I would like to admit. I don't understand when it was cool to have all the money in the world and then want to be the budgetary version of that. Wait, it's a trend throughout all baseball. I'm getting ahead of myself. But for the Yankees to operate in that way, I don't like it. Their signings haven't really panned out. I didn't think Aaron Boone was the answer 2 years ago. I didn't think it was the answer last year. I certainly don't think he's the answer now. Eventually, they've got to switch it up. Weirdly, I think the Mets will be fine. And I know that Mets fans have a reason to be upset, a reason for calling for Buck Showalter's head, which I think is a little presumptive. But you're asking a lot out of two 40-year-old pitchers, to anchor your staff. And that was always going to be a risk. But I do think they'll be fine. But in August, September, they're just going to have to turn it up.
Are you more surprised Marcus Smart's not going to be on the Boston Celtics or that Kristaps Porzingis is?
I am more shocked that Marcus Smart is not going to be on the Boston Celtics. Because here's what I'll say. And people who have spoken with me about this know that this is how I've always felt. Boston's biggest problem was never post-production, okay? They went to the finals with a nondescript big man and some combination of the Williamses playing the five, sometimes Al Horford. Right? Getting a big was never a problem for them. They needed a point guard, and they were so emotionally attached to Marcus Smart that they gave him the job of the starting one when really it should have been Malcolm Brogdon. I know he got hurt. I know he's got to recover and everything. But when they made that deal, I thought that Brogdon was going to slide in as the one, and you bring Smart in off the bench. Smart can score with the second team. He can run the show from time to time. But Brogdon gave us a 50-40-90 season, I want to say 4 years ago, injuries aside, and he played that lead guard role for them. They needed a one. He's not even a true one, but he's as close as what they're going to have on that roster right now.
What else in the NBA are you looking at, especially from the Knicks and the Nets and the draft that just came up? Do you think they bettered themselves? How about the Celtics? I mean, the Celtics look like they didn't do a whole lot.
The Celtics didn't do a lot, but I don't think they needed to do a lot. Their number one priority was going to be figuring out what to do with Jaylen Brown, and I don't think there's an improvement over Jaylen Brown other than getting the gym and work. Same thing with the Nets, honestly, because swinging the deal for Damian Lillard, I don't think that helps them because they've already tried this before. Give up the farm to get a big star. It worked for half of a season with KD, Kyrie, and Harden, but then when it all fell down, they started to rebuild and had to do it all over again. I think the Nets are better off just standing pat and going for improvement. And honestly, the same thing for the Knicks. And the Knicks infuriate me because Julius Randle would be the perfect player if he took 3 less dribbles every single possession. Like, I don't mind him being the number one option, but it was so, like, my heart broke when Jalen Brunson's decisive turnover was trying to give Julius Randle the ball after Brunson had 46 points. Like, that's very, very wild to me. But there's no evident move out there for the Knicks. And frankly, unless the star they go after is a fantastic shooter from the perimeter, they're going to be the same team. Everyone needs to get in the gym, and everybody needs to get better. And then we'll see where their ceiling is from there.
I totally agree with that. What about Victor Wembanyama? You got any early predictions for this kid? There's some people that are putting him in a Hall of Fame before he even has one game, and then there's some people, maybe me, that think he could be just broken down because he's too skinny. What are your thoughts on Victor Wembanyama and his future in this league?
Can we stop setting up teenagers for failure, please? Like, I don't understand. We like,
no.
Can we let him defend Kristaps Porzingis one time? Skinny on skinny, we'll see what happens there. Or even him and Holmgren. Look, here's what I like about Wembanyama. Words today. It's the fact that he can do all the things that he's doing, and he looks like he's putting some effort in. Right? We see it in basketball a lot where talent really does take you above the rest. But when it doesn't look like you're working hard or that you had to really think about it all that much, to me, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, he may not be it. But it looks like Wembanyama works really hard at what he does. It looks like, thankfully, he's willing to play in the post a little bit. I hope he starts to develop that because, as we have seen, thank you, Nikola Jokic, when you are 6'10" or taller, if you can't score in the post, you're wasting everybody's time. I do think he's the runaway rookie of the year, though, because I don't see anybody in that class that's going to have as big a role as he's going to have on the Spurs or as big an impact. Because he can be late on every drive to the basket and still prevent a bucket. Yeah. Like, that's wild. Let's just hope he stays healthy, because I do want to see him versus Holmgren. And if Holmgren starts to come back and then we lose Wembanyama with something with the legs, I'm just going to be upset. And I think every Hoop fan should be too.
Nkwa, thank you so much for a few minutes. What are you working on for the show tonight?
Yeah, what are you doing?
So tonight I'm actually heading out to Mohegan Sun Arena because Jonquel Jones will be coming back to the Connecticut Sun for the first time as a visiting player. That's going to be really, really interesting. That's the organization she came up with. The only player in WNBA history to win Most Improved, 6th Woman of the Year, and MVP. So for her to come back, we'll see whether she gets a standing O, when the boos will start to come in. And all of that is beneath the fact that the Sun are playing excellent basketball right now. Right. Alyssa Thomas, the reigning Eastern Conference Player of the Week. So it's going to be a good one tonight, and I'll have the report later tonight.
Outstanding, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Ben, thank you. Kurt, thank you.